Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today's topic, well, it's a little bit of a philosophical one based on, or my opinion surrounding the question, which is sometimes a statement of if a person doesn't throw life edge knives, that means he's not a true or not a real knife thrower. Now, this question comes up from new people in the throwing community. Sometimes it comes up as a statement from certain individuals. Again, those guys are new to the throwing community, but they are very set, very heavily set in their ways of thinking. So, and they usually don't last too long in the community. But the question is still lingers: if somebody who only throws false edge knives, is he a knife thrower, or is he actually throwing knives? Now, if you don't want to listen to my rumblings for the next 10 minutes, then my answer is yes. A true throwing knife is or does not have life edge, period. Okay? So, doesn't matter what you throw, you are a knife thrower if you're throwing knives. But if you want to listen to my reasoning, stay with me. So, first of all, knife. What is a knife? Knife is a cutting tool or weapon. Now, also cutting, stabbing. Started its life as a tool, but humans are really good at figuring out what tool can be used to hurt other humans, and they figured it, well, okay, a knife is a good little weapon as a backup weapon or whatever. Okay, so knives become tools and also weapons. Now, the important part is edged. It has an edge, it has a cutting edge. But in the last few years, since the first knife ever been created by the caveman hitting two rocks together and making one rock nice and sharp, the knives are slowly developed, changed, or governed by the need of the user. Okay, so and then it becomes an like a tool named item. For example, a camp knife or a chef knife. The first part of the name describes what is that knife primarily used for. Um, and then there are very specialized ones, like for example, box cutter, which is actually lost the knife. But there's a craft knife. There's a scalpel that the surgeons using. Again, slowly over the years, centuries, the knife got the blade, the shape of the blade got reduced to what it is now, scalpel, because that's what suited the end use. Now, if we go on that kind of train of thought, throwing knife, how did the throwing knife evolve? Somewhere along the line, people use the knife to defend themselves or use it as an offensive weapon, defensive offensive weapon. And they discover that they can actually throw this knife, increasing, and by throwing it, increasing the range of effectiveness. Okay, so instead of being able to stab somebody from a meter away, they can do it 3 or 5 meters away. Now, this happened throughout the history. One of the famous person who, or one of the person who made this famous is James Bowie. Probably I pronunciate his family name really badly, so I'm sorry about that. Is the first person who used the Bowie knife, or that type of knife, which is like basically a large knife. Now he was a very skilled knife fighter, and either for his own entertainment or for practical use, he actually thrown the same knife. Now, way before him, probably people have thrown it. And on the Oriental, on the far east, people were throwing shurikens, bow shurikens. So it's not, he wasn't the first, but he is actually quite famous of that because of it, or part of it. Now, as years went by, knife throwing has become a sideshow and entertainment. There's those called the impalement arts. And then, of course, competitions. Now, as time passed and more people got into it, they discovered it that there are, if you just take an average knife and throw it, it has certain shortcomings, or certain features make it a better, and certain features makes it a worse knife to be thrown. For example, the handle, right? I mean, this is a garden slasher, right? Has a very decent pommel. Now this is to stop the knife slipping out of the hand while you're hacking at the bushes, the garden bushes. For throwing, this is really bad because you want the knife to be able to slip out of your hand to start the throwing motion. Okay. Now also, throwing knife should be a full tang, one steel construction, not a part tang with a handle scale or handle put on it. Doesn't matter if it's wood or lately it is plastic or some kind of composite, doesn't matter. That will break off. You need a full tang. Now, and even before we get into that, the material that used to make a knife. You want the material have certain amount of, actually it's not just the material, but the heat treatment of a throwing knife has to allow certain amount of flexibility so it withstands the hard life of a throwing knife. Also, thickness. Compared, like, I mean, this is about a 6mm throwing knife, and this is a used to be a chef knife of, I wouldn't call it, this is a thin knife, right? Now, and then of course you got the tip. Even on this, these are used to be GI10 tools. The tip, I have few of those, all of the tips broke. I had to regrind them because a throwing knife needs, how can I show you, a good meaty tip so it withstands the prying when it hits the target and will not turn out. So all of these features, one by one, or or all together, slowly changed or developed the throwing knife into what it is today. Also, if you have a live-edged knife, that is limiting the type of throws you can do with it. Because, for example, a half spin, so this is a large enough knife to use as a rotational knife. In a half spin method, hammer grip, I have to be careful because it's actually sharp. A hammer grip can't be used because it will cut your fingers. So you can use a military half spin, or you can use a pinch grip, but you can't use a hammer grip. So it is limiting the methods. Now, there's two more things I would like to mention here. To create an edge, and then a fine edge, a cutting edge, live edge on the end of it, needs more grinding work. And it's also because the material is thinned out, it's easier to damage. So these are all the factors that points towards you don't need live edge. And finally, when you have a live edge knife and it comes back at you as a bounce back, your possibility for an accident is also increases. Okay, so slowly but steadily, throwing knives became equipped with a force edge, because in reality all you need is a tip. All you need is that much, because that much is going to stick into the wood. And even this force edge, it looks good, but that's it. And if I turn the knife, the edge portion itself, so you got the grind and then the edge, it's like a 3 mil, maybe 4 mil thick, or just a flat piece, which is really helpful when you're doing half spin throwing, because you got a decent amount of material to slide your finger or push your finger from whichever technique you're using. So the development was almost, it has to happen. Now, if you go back to one step, would a chef be able to use for example, a dive knife, again a specialist knife, a dive knife to cook a meal? Of course he would. Would a chef, a professional chef in his professional setting in a restaurant, use a dive knife to prepare a meal? No, he wouldn't. He's going to use his large chef knife and the other, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 10 knife that he carries in his knife roll, to use the proper tool to achieve the best possible outcome, right? So in the same logic, a knife thrower, especially if that knife thrower does trick shots or competition, is not going to use something that's not the best. For example, I mean, this is a GI Tento, right? Modified slightly. I'm okay with this up to about 5.5 meters with a reasonable stick rate. And the aim is okay, right? Now, the specialist no spin knife, I'm a no spin thrower, so this was a no spin throw. This no spin throwing knife, I'm okay up to 7 meter with the same results as 5.5 meter. Okay, so if I to enter a competition, I'm going to choose the better tool for the job. Now, this is not to say that, you know, throwers, for any thrower, can't throw one of these, because they can. They just have to watch the rebound, not to cut themselves or that. Will this last as long as a throwing knife? No, it will not. The handle will fly apart, the tip will break, maybe there will be a break in the middle of it, because, well, first of all, it's thinner, it's harder. It's just not the right tool for the job. But I have to say, yes, there are throwing knives that made to have a live edge. Okay, there are specially made throwing knives that will hold an awesome edge, but they are expensive because there's more thought goes into it, better metal, and all the rest of the magic of a knife maker, okay, or skills and time of a knife maker. So, in conclusion, can this used to be live edge before I dialed it. Can a live edge knife be thrown? Yes, of course. Would a person who's actually serious about pushing the limit up, the score or getting a better trick shot? Would he use the lesser? Probably not. Would he use it for fun? Because I'm throwing these for fun a lot. Okay? Yes, I am. Will I achieve a better score with this? Yes, I would. So, in that sense, use the better tool. So, as a conclusion, anybody who says that, a person who does not throw live edge knives is not a knife thrower, for better or worse word, is an idiot. Okay, that is the stupidest thing ever. You don't need to throw live edge knives. Actually, as a beginner, that is dangerous. So if you like this video, click a like. If you don't agree with what I said, put it in the comment. We might have a good discussion about it, but you won't be able to change my mind. This is solid. This is my beliefs. Yeah. Hope you find it somewhat interesting, and thanks for listening to me. Thanks, guys. Bye.